So there's a lot there that implicates potentially a small faction within the CIA operating rogue and responsible for the assassination. So what this does is it fills in the questions that we had in this mosaic of, well, what was the Soviets' perspective? And what we found out is that people knew that Kennedy did not want war, right? He was doing everything that he could to prevent a nuclear arms exchange. But what a lot of people don't know is how close he was to the then Soviet president. And so after the assassination took place, the president ultimately decided to do his own investigation to really see what happened and presented these findings to the U.S. government at the funeral for Kennedy. And so ultimately, when they transferred over these files, a lot of them contained wires directly from the embassy to Moscow talking about what was happening. They were scared to pieces that the United States was going to use this as a means of essentially starting a kinetic fight with Russia, which thank goodness they didn't. But it's interesting because Trump, in a way, is continuing and almost finalizing Kennedy's legacy for peace. And you see that because everything that he's saying right now with not wanting to escalate the war between Russia and Ukraine, continuously calling for those talks for the first time since the 90s, really being a president that's picking up the phone and trying to engage in open dialogue and potentially even talking about a trade deal with Russia. And that's really ultimately what Kennedy was also doing. So it's very interesting that this is coming out at this point in time.
There's going to be an article dropping soon on this. So do we have a clue or an idea of who it was that got rid of it?
What I was told by the ambassador, and by the way, you should just take a look at these directly as I got them from the embassy. And there's only 2 other copies that exist. One was given to Representative Burleson and one was given to Representative Ogles as a thank you for being one of the first 3 members of Congress to meet with the Russians since the 90s. So I put together the meeting. But just to put in perspective, and I'll answer your question in a second, Congress is so broken that our first and foremost job should be continuing open dialogue with people to avoid war, right? And since the 90s, they have not really had much interaction with members of Congress. And then we can get into the 2016 Russia collusion and how that really fractured foreign policy. But the point is that all of that to say that, regarding who potentially would have pulled the trigger, whatever it might have been, what this shows is, I believe, a potential of a relationship that could have existed. Check out that photo for a second that you just scrolled past. So that was supposed to be a bridge going into Russia. And of course, Kirill Dmitriev, who's a special envoy to President Putin, I'm going to be meeting with him. And he had actually posted about this. The reason I'm doing that is because, again, our job should be first and foremost to advocate for peace.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so this is...
bridge, that's the picture right there, right? In Russia.
Yep.